It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is my favorite comedy series of all time, and I'm not alone. Despite only ever receiving Emmy nomination for their stunt work, Always Sunny's passionate fanbase keeps coming back year after year, helping make the show the longest running TV sitcom of all time. There have been few consistents throughout the last 15 years of my life, but Sunny's been one of them. I've been watching the show since I was in high school, and it will always hold a special place in my heart. When it's all said and done, I don't think it's crazy to call Sunny the greatest comedy series ever made. Longevity, laughs per hour, I don't know if any show is even close. Sure, The Office was good, but Sunny's prime lasted twice as long as that of The Office. They never lost any of their core characters, and they're still making quality episodes to this day. With 15 seasons to their name and another on the way, now's a good time as any to sift through the Always Sunny catalog and put them in order from my least favorite to favorite. Obviously, this list is going to be subjective, and you probably won't agree with all of it, but I'm all ears in the comments if you think I'm way off base. Without further ado, let's get into the rankings.
You're not being serious enough. Oh.
One monkey cut, please.
Season 14 of Sunny is the only one that I don't really like. I struggled to get through it on the rewatch, and I don't think I laughed out loud at a single joke in the entire season. The most Season 14 gets out of me is a quick exhale from the nostrils. It feels like Season 14 is rehashing new versions of old ideas from start to finish. We have another Thundergun episode, another restaurant episode, experimental episode, D-Day, and 2 social commentary episodes. A Woman's Right to Chop specifically just felt trite. Sunny's been fantastic at poking fun of relevant political topics before. 2 examples were Gun Fever 2, Still Hot, and The Gang Solves the Bathroom Problem. In these episodes, they were able to navigate these issues with nuance while still making fun of both sides. We didn't really get that here. It instead felt like a cheap simplification of a trending political cause without adding too much to the conversation. To be fair to Season 14, Hulu removed D-Day and I watched the season late, so I don't think I ever actually saw that one. Still, I don't think it would be enough to push Season 14 higher on the list. The good news is that Sunny stepped it back up in Season 15, so I'm not saying they lost their fastball.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Season 1 of Sunny set the tempo for the show. Each episode dealt with an outrageous or offensive topic from its very first, The Gang Gets Racist. From the beginning, it was clear that, unlike other popular sitcoms of the time, the audience isn't supposed to like these characters. This season established a lot of themes that Sunny eventually expands on in future seasons. Charlie's obsession with the waitress leads him to fake cancer and date a black woman to prove he's not racist. Dennis displays near psychopathic dedication to conning a woman into sleeping with him. And in the final episode, we're introduced to a family who will only expand and become more important as Sunny progresses, the McPoyles. But with this being the first and shortest season of Sunny, combined with the fact that it's the only one without Danny DeVito as Frank, it's an easy one to put near the bottom of the list.
Oh, you're gonna do great out there, sis. They're gonna love you.
You just have so much natural charisma, and you're so funny.
Oh man, thanks you guys. That really means a lot to me.
I'm not sure too many people would argue with me when I say that the most recent seasons of Sunny haven't been as good as the older ones. That said, I thought Season 15 was a big step up from Season 14, which gives me confidence that Season 16 could be even better. I don't know if I'll ever enjoy pandemic content, so their 2020 review episode will almost always be a skip for me. I understand why they made the episode, but it's too soon. Can't enjoy it right now. I don't hate the idea of having a 5-episode story for the first time when the gang goes to Ireland, it just doesn't have as many good laughs as I'm accustomed to. The Gang Buys a Roller Rink was the standout episode of Season 15 for me. I don't know how many times Sunny can readjust their history of the characters while still vaguely making sense, but it works for now. Season 15 was a step up from Season 14, but it's far from my favorite. Hopefully, Sunny keeps heading in this direction in Season 16.
Banging your sister is perverted, Dennis.
I am not banging my sister.
Season 1 is okay, but Season 2 is where the iconic episodes of Always Sunny start. The gang runs for office, Dennis and Indy go on welfare, and Charlie Goes America all over everybody's ass are the ones that stand out above the rest. The improvised reading of Charlie's campaign speech still probably ranks in the top 10 funniest moments of the show, and helps further establish Charlie's illiteracy, which plays a massive role. Season 2 also expanded the Sunny roster considerably. Obviously, Frank joined this season, but so did Artemis, Mrs. Mack, Luther, Bruce, and second only in impact to Frank, Rickety Cricket.
My life is ruined.
No,
It's ruined.
It's not.
The Gang Exploits a Miracle isn't my favorite episode of the show, but it serves as a strong foundation for what would become the most iconic character in the Always Sunny universe outside of the gang themselves. It's a solid season of TV, but the gang is still working to flesh out Frank's character. Everyone outside of Charlie changes significantly as the series goes on, but Frank's first season is probably the most different than anyone else on the show. Season 2 is a fantastic building block for Sunny's prime, which starts in Season 3 in my opinion. But it's hard to count it as one of the best seasons of the show when there are just so many good ones ahead of it.
That was not as bad as I expected.
It's funny to reflect on season 12 because I loved the season when it came out, but now that I look at it, I can't count it as one of their best. The high point for me was the Gang 10's bar and Hero or Hate Crime, which is the perfect example of how Sunny keeps getting away with it. This episode used every slur in the book, from the N-word to the F-slur, and nobody even blinked. This was also the episode where Mac finally came out of the closet once and for all, completing one of the most long-running and slow-burn character arcs in all of television. On the note of pushing boundaries, Dee setting a stripper up to grind on his own daughter to prove that she wasn't his rock bottom is one of the darker schemes anyone on this show has ever hatched, akin to Cartman killing Scott Tenorman's parents in South Park. It's hilariously sinister, and everyone's instinct to ignore their depraved issues and get drunk is another example of what makes these characters so lovably horrible. Overall, season 12 is a decent season with a few standout episodes, but not one that I skip to on a rewatch.
Okay, you're not helping. All right, your racism is making... I hate when you're on my side.
Season 13 was an interesting one. If you watched Sunny live back in 2018, then you'll remember that there were rumors about Dennis leaving the show to focus on AP Bio. He wasn't in the writer's room for this season, and the gang leaned into these rumors by excluding him from all the promotional material and casting Mindy Kaling as his replacement in the first episode. At the end of episode 1, though, they revealed that Dennis wasn't leaving and then proceeded to never mention it again in any meaningful way. It was a funny bait and switch for fans who thought that, like many shows, Dennis's departure would be the first step towards Sunny's demise. As for the actual episodes of the show, they had some hits and misses. Apart from Dennis's reveal and Mac's body transformation, season 13 didn't really pick up until episode 4, Time's Up for the Gang. The Gang Solves a Bathroom Problem offered one of the more apt social commentaries from Sunny, where the gang tries to navigate the nuanced conversation of equality, the horseshoe theory, and pooping in public restrooms. I can't pass by season 13 without mentioning Mac Finds His Pride, which is Sunny's rare departure from pure comedy. Rob McElhenney stunned audiences with his performance, and it deserves standalone recognition, even if I don't personally consider season 13 to be one of the show's best.
Hang on a second. What kind of cream pie are you talking about? What kind of cream pie are you talking about?
At the 9 spot, we have what might be a contentious one, season 10. There are some fantastic episodes in this season, but in my mind, there just weren't enough iconic episodes to propel season 10 higher in the list. My personal favorite episode this season is The Gang Goes on Family Fright. Charlie's bizarrely correct answers, later revealed to be accurate because he was part of the survey, is perfect. And I love the bad answer banter that contrasts the real show, where everybody always says good answer no matter how stupid it may be.
Bad answer.
Bad answer.
Bad answer.
Bad answer.
That's a bad answer.
But the episode that stands out above the rest in season 10 has to be Charlie Work. Filmed with a continuous tracking shot, we get an experimental episode that immediately distinguished itself from the rest of the series. Not only was the filmography a massive departure from Sunny's normal style, but Charlie Work is one of the rare episodes where Charlie plays the straight man. From the beginning of the episode, Charlie's subtle genius is on display. He calls out the gang's convoluted scam and blunder down to the letter, and proceeds to show the audience that he truly is the glue that holds the gang together. And true to form, Charlie gets no credit for anything by the episode's end. Not even the gag stool he sets up while juggling an air mile scam and finessing a health inspection in a bar with dozens of violations. Of course, I can't brush by season 10 without mentioning the gang beats Boggs and what might be Dennis's most iconic rant in the show in The Gang Misses the Boat.
I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds!
That's also the episode where Dee and Charlie sleep together, which is legitimately more cringe-inducing than the incest in Game of Thrones. It's a good season. I just like others more.
Hey, yo, where my senators at, dog?
Season 10 and Season 11 are virtually tied in my mind. They both have the same number of what I consider to be iconic episodes, but I enjoyed the whole of Season 11 a bit more. And those iconic episodes, Mac and Dennis Move to the Suburbs and McPoyle vs. Ponderosa Trial of the Century, are among my favorites in the entire series. The latter is nearly an entire episode dedicated to something that the gang sets up back in Season 5.
Now let's say you and I go toe-to-toe on Bird Law and see who comes out the victor.
Charlie and the lawyer do go toe-to-toe on Bird Law, and Charlie wins. When Mac and Dennis move to the suburbs, we see what might be peak Psycho Dennis. His Wally rant, his 1,000-yard stare, his traffic outbursts. If you're a fan of Crazy Dennis, then this could be your favorite episode of all time.
Hot one today, huh?
Yeah?
It might be unpopular to say that I don't like being Frank, and I usually skip it. I see what they were going for here, but it ends up being one of my least favorite episodes of the show. The rest of the episodes in Season 11 were enjoyable and always good for a rewatch. Solid season, but not really close to ranking within the top 5.
Do you have any such certificate?
At this point, we're entering the greatness territory. This entire ranking system is subjective, but I wouldn't argue with you if you put any one of these seasons at number 1. That being said, I'm starting the next tier with Season 8. Season 8 was fantastic, but it didn't have as many iconic episodes as some of the others around it. Some of the highlights for Season 8 include Charlie and Dee find love, the gang gets analyzed, Charlie rules the world, and Reynolds vs. Reynolds, the serial defense. Charlie being the most well-adjusted member of the gang was a predictable subversion, but his Dennis-esque manipulation in Charlie and Dee find love was a hilarious surprise. This actually might be one of Charlie's most coherent seasons, as he plays the straight man and has his insanity justified more often than not. Before moving on, I wanted to mention Mac's science argument in Reynolds vs. Reynolds.
Science is a liar sometimes.
Oh boy.
Looking back at that monologue today, it's funny to think that that might have been well ahead of its time. If this was used in a debate on certain political topics with no context, I think some people would agree with it, which I love.
Wheezing.
Dude, you're wheezing now.
You slow down.
Season 7, aka the Fat Mac season. Rob McElhenney's effort to subvert the sitcom trend of characters becoming more attractive as they age paid off brilliantly, even if it only lasted for one season. Apart from Frank's brother, which I don't love, this season doesn't miss a beat. 7 years in, and Sonny was still producing some of the most iconic episodes the show had to offer in Frank Reynolds' Little Beauties and Charlie McDennis.
Oh, because Dennis is a bastard, man!
I also want to mention how much I love the cold open and title card and Sweet Dee gets audited. Gets me every time.
Cause Sweet Dee beat the system.
I don't have too much to say about this one. It's another in a long list of great seasons that sit barely outside my top 5.
Name's Artemis. I have a bleached asshole.
With 15 mostly hilarious seasons of Sonny, the top 5 is getting into some rarefied air, starting with season 4. It's only 13 episodes this season, and most of them have an iconic moment or two. I count almost every episode of season 4 among my favorites, but the standouts are Mac and Charlie Die Part 1 and 2, Who Pooped the Bed, Sweet Dee Has a Heart Attack, and The Night Man Cometh. Sinbad and Rob Thomas and Dennis Reynolds' An Erotic Life will also never stop making me laugh.
Sing a song. Shut up.
This is also the season where we see Sonny's first deleted episode, America's Next Top Patty's Billboard Model Contest. Hulu removed it for Dee's character, Martina Martinez. Racism solved. Season 4 is part of what made Sonny such a popular show, and every one of these episodes delivers. Throughout this ranking, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on iconic, show-defining episodes, and apart from The Night Man Cometh, Season 4 just doesn't seem to have as many of those as some of the other seasons from around this time.
Holy shit. Dennis is Spider-Man.
Season 9 is the most recent season to rank this highly on my list, and that's because every episode of this season hits, starting with one of my favorite episodes of the show, The Gang Broke Dee. The plotline of building Dee back up enough so that they can tear her down again is perfectly on brand for these detestable characters. There's something about gaslighting Dee into thinking that she's a great comedian while keeping Dennis in the dark about it that just brings me joy. Flowers for Charlie, Mac Day, the gang gets quarantined, Mac and Dennis buy a timeshare. There isn't a single miss in this entire season. And season 9 is also where we saw 2 of the most brilliant episodes of the show, the first being Gun Fever 2, Still Hot. Dennis and Dee try to prove that there are too many guns on the street, while Mac and Charlie try to prove that there aren't enough, and both groups switch sides after their real-world experience. Meanwhile, Frank, who stoked the conflict, reveals that he was only in it for the money and doesn't even care about guns. One of the best social commentaries Sonny's ever produced.
This is America. You're either a duper or a dupee. I'm a duper. You guys are the dupees.
The other season 9 episode that I'll give the brilliant tag is, obviously, the gang desperately tries to win an award. A meta commentary on the fact that, despite being one of the most popular and long-running comedies on the air, Always Sunny has never been nominated, let alone won an Emmy.
I don't need your trophy, so you go. I just wanna tell you all, go yourself.
Season 9 is gold from start to finish, only to be topped by 3 seasons that aired during the heart of Sonny's prime.
Oh, shit. Look at that door, dude. See that door right there? One marked pirate. You think a pirate lives in there?
In my opinion, Season 3 began Sonny's prime. It's the longest season of the show and features iconic episode after iconic episode, starting with The Gang Finds a Dumpster Baby, one of my favorite cold opens in all of television.
Holy shit. What? There's a baby in this dumpster.
Let me just list all the episodes in Season 3. Chances are you can probably remember at least 1 or 2 iconic moments from each of them just by their titles. The Gang Finds a Dumpster Baby, The Gang Gets Invincible, Dennis and Dee's mom is dead, The Gang Gets Held Hostage, Aluminum Monster vs. Fatty Magoo, The Gang solves the North Korea situation, The Gang sells out, Frank sets Sweet Dee on fire, Sweet Dee is dating retarded person, Mac is a serial killer. Dennis looks like a registered sex offender. The gang gets whacked part 1 and 2. Bums making a mess all over the city. The gang dances their asses off. There isn't a down episode in the bunch, and I can't fault anyone who ranks season 3 as their favorite season of Sunny. I'd probably have it there myself if it wasn't for Frank. Frank is definitely coming into his own in season 3, but he still isn't the depraved, bombastic troll man that he becomes in the following seasons. They were honing in on his character in this season, but I don't think we see Danny DeVito go full Frank until season 4. When I made my preliminary list, I had season 5 at number 1 and season 6 at number 2, based mostly on, again, the iconic episodes in season 5. It's surely one of the best seasons of Sunny and includes some of the most referenced episodes of the series. As I rewatched these seasons and thought about it though, I gave season 6 the edge because even though season 7 is littered with classics, I think season 6 is an overall better season. Still, the waitress getting married and the dentist system might be 2 of the most iconic episodes in the history of the show, with other classics like the World Series defense and the gang gives Frank an intervention littered throughout. Dennis's descent into a literal psychopath certainly didn't start or end with the dentist system, but the episode was a perfect encapsulation of Dennis's cynicism.
Nurturing dependence. You're gonna want to nurture that dependence that she's feeling on you now, guys.
Kitten mittens, Mac and Dennis break up, the gang exploits the mortgage crisis. There are quotable moments in nearly every episode of the show. But when it comes to Prime Sunny, I think there's one season that sits clearly above the rest.
First of all, don't say I went as Spider-Man. I didn't go as Spider-Man. I was Man-Spider. Totally different.
Season 6 has 2 of my favorite episodes in the history of Sunny: Who Got Dee Pregnant and Charlie Kelly, King of the Rats. The latter, to me, represents the perfect depiction of Charlie's character. If I'm showing Sunny to someone who's never seen the show before, this episode is the one I pick. The Dream Book, Spaghetti Day, Hawowin, Lao Wow. This episode has Charlie quote after Charlie quote, and may have been the inspiration for Mac Day and D-Day to follow. We also get introduced to Maureen and Bill Ponderosa at the beginning of season 6, along with the dynamic between Mrs. Mac and Mrs. Kelly in Mac's mom burns her house down. And although the dentist system helped lay the groundwork for Dennis's psychopathy, one of his equally iconic speeches comes in The Gang Binds a Boat, The Implication.
Because if the girl said no, then the answer obviously is no.
No.
But the thing is she's not gonna say no. She would never say no because of the implication.
And you can't forget the Christmas episode, where we get a glimpse into how horrific a childhood all these people had, just in time for the holidays. Every single episode of season 6 hits, and it's probably the best place to start for someone who's new to the show. The gang probably fully fleshed out all of their characters before season 6, but this is where everything comes together, and it's fantastic. I believe season 6 of Sunny can stand toe-to-toe with any season of any comedy series and come out on top. It's just perfect. Sunny may have fallen off a bit in recent seasons, but falling from where they were is still pretty damn funny. The longevity and consistent quality is enough for me to call it the greatest comedy series of all time, and I think history will treat it that way. When you look back at how many memorable moments Sunny's produced over the years, it's hard to put all the seasons into a list and not second guess yourself. You probably disagree with my precise rankings, as I probably would if I watched this video. I look forward to reading the comments and seeing what other alternative rankings and hot takes you guys have. As always, thanks for watching. Stay safe.